engaged in here for a long time. And so we wanted to really focus this session on this idea of healing the healer and rekindling the spirit and really taking some time to reflect in ourselves and with each other what it takes to get us back for some of us or to get us into that space of doing this work, and what resources do we need, and also what boundaries do we need to set in order to make that happen. So I am going to share my PowerPoint and then introduce and hand you off. So, we've kind of called the session Healed Healer, Rekindling the Spirit, Individual Resilience, and Story Sharing. And that story sharing part should indicate that this is going to be a session where we're going to be meeting one another with our stories. One thing I want to introduce to you before I hand it over to Jean is we were thinking about ways in which we can record at least some of the reflections and insights that you'll share with us today. And so I'll ask Ben if you can in the chat to put the Padlet address, or Justine. Um, our Padlet is like a Jamboard. I would like to say a little bit more elegant. No offense to the Jamboard master users on the call, Ben. Um, I know you love your Jamboard, man, but I'm gonna say that what we tried to do with this Padlet is literally to have a column for every question that we're gonna ask ourselves to reflect on. And if you go to that Padlet, and we would love for you, if it's possible, to have it open. You can open it on a mobile device; it's mobile friendly, or you can have it open on your computer, and it'll be there. And as we're going through each of the movements of this little symphony of ours, this afternoon, we'd love for you to just put down reflections, and all the reflections are recorded anonymously. So as we go along, questions, comments, concerns, affirmations, insights, contentions, they are all welcome. And we just wanted a place where we could capture some of that so that the learning of this session can be made not only visible to all those here, but as we continue this work together, hopefully some of this can be usable in the weeks and months ahead. So let us begin, and I'm going to hand it over to my good friend, Jean, from Kirkridge Retreat Center, and she's going to start us off with some remembering and exploring the origin story. So over to you, Jean.
Thank you, AR. It's a gift to be with you, and welcome to those of you who are just joining us now. It is good to be in this community today. As we start our time together, I'm just going to invite us to take, get ourselves centered, find our way back from that lovely break, and take a deep breath, being aware of the land on which we're sitting. The air that we're breathing.
Yeah, that looks great. Thank you for doing that, Gregory.
Yeah. The sounds that are around us and among us. And as we begin, I want to start with this quote from Soren Kierkegaard, who was a theologian, philosopher, and author. And he once wrote that life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. And I think about this time, and there is no way we could have understood this time looking into it. And it's going to take years for us to integrate this time looking back at it. And yet, as we read in our opening poem today by William Stafford, nothing you can do stops time's unfolding, and you don't ever let go of the thread. So in this session, we're going to talk about remembering, resilience, and healing. And to start, I chose a poem by Joy Harjo. And Joy Harjo is the only poet laureate of the United States that's now in her third term. She is the member of the Muskogee Nation, which in the United States is part of Alabama and a small part of Georgia. Her poem is called Remember, and this will come out for you if you can't read it on the screen. I just invite you to take a breath, maybe close your eyes, and listen to her words. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon and who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing in you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember, the dance language is, that life is. Remember. I was going to put some reflective questions up on our Padlet. And I'm going to invite us to just take like 3 minutes, and Ben, maybe you could just put a timer on this, just 3 minutes of silence, just to look at these questions and hold them. And then Ben's going to send us into groups, small groups, where we'll each have about 4 minutes to share what is it that one of these questions has evoked in you. Here are the questions. Is there a moment or moments in your life that you remember saying yes to your present work in a retreat center? What do you want to remember from this last year of COVID for your future life and work? And Justine put these in the chat for everyone. What is in motion or is growing in you? So I'm going to invite you just to go onto mute, do any quick reflection and writing, and then Ben will invite us in a few minutes into small groups.
I have many groups of 3 put together for just 13 minutes. So let's honor each other's time, maybe four minutes or so a person, and let's reflect on those points that we were just writing about. I'm going to send you off, and I'll see you back here shortly.
As folks are coming back, welcome.
Well, there was so much that we could share in those conversations, and know that they were really just the beginning of conversations. But I hope by listening to that poem and having conversations and listening to yourself that the thread that you hold that's been growing in you for decades begins to see its own way into your life. So thank you. And I'm going to pass it back to AR, who I think is going to pass it forward.
Thank you so much, Gene, and we want to encourage everyone that just for a minute as we make the transition over and we hand the baton to our brother Rico, that if you have a moment and you're able to get on the Padlet, please just jot down one or two sparks that kind of emerged from the conversations that you were having, and let's begin to populate that page so we can begin to kind of get a contour, get a sense of where we're at as a way of sort of debriefing out of each of these. Like I said, these are the movements of this session. I want to bring bring Reiko into the space, and I won't say a lot because I value Reiko so much, and I've valued his teaching so much over the last few years. But all to say that there's so many remarkable people that we meet through this work, through engaging with one another, through being in community with one another, and we meet great organizers, we meet great administrators, we meet great programmers, and then we meet great teachers who are great souls, and Reiko is one of them, and he's gonna kind of guide us through I think what we could call a somatic meditation. He's going to explain to us what that is. So I'm gonna hand over the conch to him. It's all yours, brother.
Thank you, brother. I think we all need AR to be our hype person into this space. To be certain, my name is Rako Fabionar, and it's really precious and a pleasure to be with everybody here today, and very exciting to be here with my fellow RCC folk from the steering committee to be a part of this. It's been beautiful in the last couple of years to see how it's been emerging and shaping, and I feel very lucky to be here with folks. So we're looking and inquiring into, and I think I imagine everybody or most of us know that this work it's good work, and it's also hard work. It's hard work in best of times, so to speak, and even harder in context of civil unrest and context of pandemic, and so there's a lot to consider, and I imagine everybody here, and I know that folks are here are really smart, and so what we're wanting to do with this is to really drop into our bodies a little bit more and into our imagination. And for right now, I want to facilitate something where we'll be working with our bodies, our own somatic experience, to rest a little bit, to imagine, and then inquire into rekindling or amplifying our spark. And so this will take about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll presence any information or insight that comes up from this meditation / visualization, and then we'll continue to move on. But we really just want to drop into our bodies a little bit more and drop into a shared imaginal space. And so I'm going to invite everybody, if you can, and if you're not in a context or a situation or environment where it's hard to have some stillness and some privacy and understand, and maybe just want to just listen, and be present with the rest of us. But for those of you who are able, I invite you to just take a moment and sit in a way that feels both comfortable and alert. And then I'm going to ask you to mute everybody except me, if that's okay. So we can optimize this process. I invite us all to close our eyes. And just take a deep breath to the lower belly. And exhaling, just dropping down into the lower belly, into your seat a little bit more. Another breath to the lower belly. Exhaling, feeling yourself a little bit more present in your body, in your seat. And a third breath to the lower belly. Exhaling, feeling a little bit more, just a slight touch more ease, grounded, present. Good. And from this space, I want you to see or imagine that we are outdoors somewhere And this could be on your retreat center property or somewhere outside that is comfortable and safe. And we are actually sitting in circle. So let's see or imagine that we are sitting outside, somewhere that is beautiful and safe and comfortable. And we're sitting in circle together. And I want you to engage your senses. I want you to really, really, really drop into this imagination with the senses. And what colors do you see? What's the feeling and the sensation of the sun or the breeze on your skin? Are there any scents? What do you notice when you place yourself and the rest of us in this space outside? And from here, physically lean slightly to your left, just slightly to your left, physically, and feel or perceive the person sitting to your left with your subtle body or your imagination. And then come back to center and move slightly to your right. Imagine or perceive the person to your right using your subtle body. And then back to center. And leaning slightly back safely, just slightly. And feeling into all those people past, all the old ones, all the ones who came before you and us, who had the spark, who carried the spark. Those ancestors of blood and by choice, those who worked with the best wisdom of their times to survive and to thrive. And just really feeling into that you are part of the stream of folks who have carried on this spark, this work. And then back to center. And then bringing your awareness or attention to your feet, where it connects to the ground or the earth. And we're going to now work with our own somatic experience in allyship with gravity and the earth. So paying attention to your feet, noticing whatever sensations come up when you bring your awareness, your full attention to your feet. You might even just start by wiggling your toes if it helps. And the point is not to manufacture anything or to look for anything specific, but just to pay attention to what is naturally arising in your awareness when you're focusing on your feet. Bringing your attention up to your legs. And you're just simply noticing what is already there. Any sensation, any sense of numbness or temperature, whatever is just naturally there. Bringing your awareness up to your upper torso, your belly, just scanning the belly, the chest, the back. And as you scan, so to speak, just noticing what is already there in terms of sensation, temperature, information. Scanning both the arms up to the hands, but not including the hands. Bringing awareness to what is already there. just with curiosity. Bringing awareness to your hands and your fingers. Noticing now the temperature or the sensation or the information that comes when you put your attention to your hands. And now your whole head, including your face, your crown, your neck, your ears. And now scanning your body as a whole. And this time, as you scan and notice whatever sensations or temperatures or numbness, as soon as you are aware of that sensation, see or imagine it falling down to earth. There's a release. See or imagine that it's releasing with the assistance of gravity and the earth. As you pay attention to your whole body, whatever arises in your awareness in terms of sensation or even thought or even emotion, as soon as you're aware of that, see or imagine it falling like a leaf down to earth with the assistance of gravity. So letting go. And we just do this for a minute or so. Scanning the body, whatever information or sensation or thought or emotion arises in your awareness, seeing or imagining it falling or melting directly to earth with the assistance of gravity, to be composted, to be held. And take your hands and put it directly on your belly, physically. Inhale directly into your belly and your hands, bringing your awareness to that part of your body. And then ask yourself the question, what does my body need to rekindle or amplify my spark? And if you find yourself thinking, just take another breath into the lower belly with your hands and ask yourself the question again and listen closely to your whole body. What does my body need to rekindle or amplify my spark. The information may come in an emotion, an image, it might be words. But listen closely with your whole body the best you can. Put your hands down and eyes closed still. And now I want you to see or imagine that there is a future self, a future you sitting right in front of you. And that future self is vitalized, resourced, and lit up. They're very much aligned with their path and their spark. What are they wearing? What are you wearing? What is this future self wearing? We've all been connected to transcendent or powerful experiences, either through people or through nature. And so imagine or see that this vital energy, this lit up energy is coming from your future self. It's undeniable. And it's okay just to imagine it. What does this future self look like? What does it feel like? What do you look like? What do you feel like? And ask this future self, this future you, what does my body need to rekindle or amplify my spark? And listen closely to what they have to share back. Taking a moment now, taking a deep breath into the heart, exhaling. Another deep breath into the heart, exhaling. A third breath to the heart, exhaling. And when you're ready, you could open your eyes. Welcome back. Yeah, do we have some time to ask to report out a little bit, or we do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We can take a few
Okay.
moments. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And of course, I want to encourage folks when you get a moment, if you'd like to use the Padlet link that we put on there to capture, so to speak, you know, the wisdom and the insight that's coming through, because it is about us, you know, us individually, but we also learn from the collective wisdom from the group. And so we'd love to hear, all of us would love to hear how that went for some folks. And you can either write it in the chat, or, you know, people could speak and raise their hand, and we'll listen to a couple of folks before we transition. Okay. So what insights came through that practice, that visualization? Thank you, Marianne. What I heard is you need to trust your heart. Thank you. Yes, please, Margarita.
Well, I just loved when you talked about the future self. That was just a beautiful invitation. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I actually had a moment of vertigo, dysphoria, I think I would call it.
Mm-hmm. Are you okay? Are you okay now?
I am.
Okay.
But
okay.
I realized I have no clear ideal image of my physical self.
Mm-hmm. Can you say a little bit more about that? What does that mean for you in terms of information going forward?
I'm very aware that I'm an upside down triangle, that if you look at the distribution of energy, that my personality is way up in the air, and that I've had to work very hard to ground myself in my body.
Yeah.
I'm still not completely here.
Yeah.
Here, even though I've done a lot of work on it, but I don't have any concept of what would be ideal for me that is realistic. Like, face it, I'm not going to be an NBA basketball player, no matter how much I stand out in the rain and hope I'll grow.
Yeah. Maybe there's a happy medium in terms of embodiment and grounding.
Yeah.
than being the next LeBron James. Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty good at accepting myself as I am, but I don't have an ideal embodiment to work towards.
Thank you, Sheila. I'm saying trust the heart, body needs rest. I'm a puddle of tears and the future self is free. The word lighter, to lift and release, the need for joy and lightness. Hugs, hugs and beloved friends. Physically could feel ancestors behind me, comforting and strengthening. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, those are experiences that we can access. Yeah, there are certain lineages that can help us. The future self was not in this lifetime. Let the thread be unbroken. Thank you, Barbara. Hugs, patience, keep the body healthy. Community and yoga came up. Mel, I'm seeing a burning bush and gushing stream. Need to channel the fire and the gush. Thank you, folks. Again, if you have an opportunity to write on the Padlet, please do, and hope that you and we can continue to activate or reactivate the spark together. And I'll hand it back to AR.
Rako, thank you as always.
Oops.
And thank you to all those who are responding and sharing. And this is all non-linear in so many ways. So feel free to return to these questions and to reflect and to share as we continue. And I want to pick up this next section, this next turn in this symphony of reflections, and really pick up from where Rako left us. Is that as we consider the whole of ourselves, and we've just been led through this process of somatic meditation where we're hearing and training ourselves to hear the information that is contained in this substance. And I'm fairly new, I have to be honest, to that realization. But I think we've all felt this afternoon that once you enter into that realized space, you begin to recognize that in subtle ways, and sometimes for me, ways that I'm simply not aware of because I'm not bringing it to a reflective place. is that we're actually being guided and listening to our bodies all the time, and to give that intention is so powerful and so important. But I want us to encourage us and invite you into taking that consideration even further to the whole of me, to the whole of ourselves, the physical, the somatic, the spiritual, the feelings that arise from the heart, the thoughts that crisscross our mind, the knowledges, and I use that word with that plural, the knowledges that we hold both in our DNA passed to us by our ancestors and the generations who came before, which are encoded into our beings, the joys and the traumas that we live every day through our work and through our engagement with the created world. And also that intellectual part of ourselves, that part that is curious, that desires learning, that seeks it out. So I want to just take 2 minutes, if you don't mind, Ben, putting 2 minutes on the clock, for us in silence or through your journaling, to consider the whole of ourselves, and maybe a temperature check, especially after that somatic meditation, of where the whole of us is at, and if there's any obvious areas, any obvious places that we've been finding ourselves turn to and asking ourselves, I really need this for this part of me, and I need that for that part of me. And I want to let's just take 120 seconds and consider that for a moment. So I'm going to go dark. I find this next question one of the most difficult questions that I ask, and maybe some of you will find that as well. I think just having experienced your company this morning, knowing some of the places that you come from, we're here in a group of people who are givers, facilitators, organizers, activists. We put the rocks down to create a road over uneven ground. We guide people to the well-trodden path that leads to these beautiful spaces, which we call retreat centers. As Jean says, national parks for the soul, which dot this incredible land that we call the United States, but whose names are so much deeper and more powerful and so embedded in the earth. And yet, I feel physically uncomfortable to borrow from Rako's encouragement to feel what's in our bodies when I'm asked to articulate what in this moment do I need, because I think we see so much other need around us. And at least for me, this is a difficult activity. And as we've considered the whole of ourselves, in a moment, Ben is going to place us. And Ben, we can do threes actually. It doesn't need to be twos. It can be threes. Is that to give us in these small groups, to give an opportunity for each of us to express to those in our groups, what in this moment do I need, and to try and articulate as precisely as we can. The challenge is maybe precision. What do I need at this moment to sustain the whole of me? What do I need in this moment to nourish the whole of me? My body, my mind, my spirit, and the way those things are all integrated, those threads that we talked about this morning that tie us together. And then I know we can't talk about need unless we also talk about give, because we're in the company of givers. And maybe there's something that's emerging right now for you, or has been emerging recently, that there is something that you can give. Maybe it's something very specific. Maybe it's around a skill. Maybe it's around a facilitation. Maybe it's around a support. But I would love for us to begin to articulate in a room full of givers all the ways in which a give is available to us. And maybe we might find at the end of this process, at the end of these 2 days together, that a lot of needs and a lot of gives are matching, and that friendships and camaraderie and siblinghood will be formed in ways that we didn't even imagine when we started this process. So I'm going to ask Justine to place those two questions, or Ben, in the chat. I'm sure they're already there. And in your groups of three, let's take about another 12 minutes, 13 minutes to consider what in this moment do I need, and what in this moment can I give, and of course, between all of you, take an opportunity to share that, and if there's some time afterwards, to be able to unpack it and discuss it a little bit. So let's put 12 minutes on the clock, and then we have a minute to come back into the room. So it's really 13 minutes. And Ben, if you could take us away into those beautiful spaces, we'll see you back in 13 minutes.
All right, here we go.
Welcome back, friends. And as we kind of enter into the last movement of this reflective symphony, I just want to give us a minute, and feel free to share on the chat or on the Padlet, which I also have open. What were some of the things that were coming out? What were some of the needs, and what were some of the specific gives? And be lovely to be able to capture some of those, and also to keep those in sort of in our radar as we move forward in this process. And I would encourage myself and you that if we are seeing needs that match our gives, then let's not wait. Let's not wait for RCC. Let's not wait for the space. Feel free to reach out to one another, and to say, I see the thing that you're asking for, and I think I might be able to help with that. Oh, thank you, Suzanne, for getting us started. Oh, I love it. Need the burden of responsibility to transform into a river of joy. The ability to give is hope. What a wonderful gift to give, to facilitate hope. I would love to talk about what that looks like. Oh, Arlene, it's super practical. I love it. Arlene is going to Three Rivers to help Naomi build a house. This is okay. You're gonna, over the next, before we finish tomorrow, we need information on this. All right, is that a deal? Okay, good. I see heads. I see heads nodding. Naomi, you must tell us about this project at some point. Clear communication, clarity in decision making. Eileen, that resonates with me very, very deeply. Kindness. Oh, non-judgmental listening. Thank you, Margarita, for bringing us back to the personal and the intimate. We'll take another 20 seconds. And I'm seeing some wonderful responses on the Padlet as well. Thank you for everyone who's sharing. So I want to say thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for expressing needs, as difficult as that might have been for some of us. Thank you for your generosity and your expansiveness, your openness, your kindness, the love that you express even to those that we don't know so well, because that's the nature of our work, is to offer one another help, support, care. And this really brings us to this last movement, and it's something that emerged, if I may, Sally, out of the conversations that the group of us were having as we were preparing this session. And I think Sally, kind of, as we were talking about needs and gives and embodiment and origins, Sally said something to us, and I've spelled honoring wrong there, and I just want to note that. I want to note that, that in honoring, she talked about honoring and being honored, and that the way she just said that around sort of boundaries and the comfort that we have with accepting and also saying no at times was something really powerful. And we felt that what what a powerful way this would be to end, because I think we've talked about giving and we've talked about the things that we need, but along with that comes with a comfort around our boundaries, and in that comfort we honor one another, and we are honored by each other. And so with that, I'm gonna invite Sally Hare, who is in my language, the language of hip hop, Sally's an OG. A proper, it's the language of the 5% movement in New York. The OG stood for old God. The person who you went to, you relied on, you were silent in the company of for a few moments because you could gain something. So I feel like Sally's one of my OGs in this group, a longtime member of the Kirkridge family and the Courage and Renewal work. So I'm gonna hand it over to Sally to take us home.
Thank you, Abdul-Rehman, and don't go too far away because I'll be asking you in a moment to share that last piece for me. But first, I want to take us back to the beginning of today when Michelle invited us to hold on to that thread. She said that there's a thread that you follow, and it goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. And throughout the day, we've had a chance to think about that. We had a question about how does holding a common thread empower you to flourish together? And then Oren talked to us about retreat centeredness. And in the small group that I was in, we actually played with those words, and we talked about maybe we spend too much time on the retreat part and not on the centeredness. And one of the things that Billy lifted up for me in that small group was that the center is not the middle. It's something else. It's something different. And that made me think about words from Howard Thurman, the great theologian that I love so much, who said how good it is to center down, to sit quietly and see oneself pass by. So as we come to the end of this day and begin to practice what we need to live fully, I want to share a favorite story with you. It's actually a passage from Zorba the Greek, because I have a sense that we're in this cocoon, that we're in this chrysalis, that we're talking a lot about reopening or returning, but we have this chance for transformation. The story from Zorba. I remember one morning when I discovered a cocoon in the back of a tree, just as a butterfly was making a hole in its case and preparing to come out. I waited a while, but it was too long appearing and I was impatient. I bent over it and breathed on it to warm it. I warmed it as quickly as I could, and the miracle began to happen before my eyes, faster than life. The case opened. The butterfly started slowly crawling out, and I shall never forget my horror when I saw how its wings were folded back and crumpled. The wretched butterfly tried with its whole trembling body to unfold them. Bending over it, I tried to help it with my breath, in vain. It needed to be hatched out patiently, and the unfolding of the wings should be a gradual process in the sun. Now it was too late. My breath had forced the butterfly to appear all crumpled before its time. It struggled desperately, and a few seconds later, it died in the palm of my hand. That little body is, I do believe, the greatest weight I have on my conscience. For I realize today that it is a mortal sin to violate the great laws of nature. We should not hurry. We should not be impatient, but we should confidently obey the external rhythm. As we come to the end of a very full day to heal the healer, I invite us to slow down. We should not hurry. We should not be impatient. Why would we want to return to something that was never really what we wanted? Let's take the time while we're in this chrysalis for transformation. And I'm going to ask AR to help me with sharing a song with you, at the end of which Justine will give us just a few closing details. Just let this song wash over you.
All together now, all together now, all together alone in the chrysalis. We're all together now, all together now, all together alone in the chrysalis. We're all together now.
Thank you. Justine.
Oh, Sally, that was so perfect for such a wonderful session. Oh, just breathing that all in, the day we've had, that last song, it was beautiful, and all of your engagement. Thank you so much.